Hello?
Mic check, mic check, mic check.
We can never run away from public speaking engagements. A valedictory address, campaign speech, happy birthday message, opening prayers, your thesis defense, and of course, this required Com 3 class. We just have to accept it. Life will never run out of reasons to make a stand in front of an audience and say something. Public speaking has been around for centuries, keeping societies together, molding collective histories, and sustaining community stories and memories. Public communication involves a single speaker who, in a relatively formal tone and manner, presents a continuous, uninterrupted, informative, persuasive, or entertaining discourse of a supposedly general interest to a sizable amount of other persons. In order to understand it better, let's talk about the nature of public speaking. Number 1. There is constant role stability in public communication. All throughout the presentation, the speaker remains as the speaker and the listeners as listeners. Number 2. There is a high degree of formality due to the considerable physical and psychological distance between the speaker and the audience. Number 3. As a relatively more formal event, there are certain norms that we have to follow in terms of language use and decorum. Number 4. The possibility of audience diversity is high. For this reason, audience analysis and adaptation is necessary. And number 5, though there is immediate feedback from the audience, it is usually nonverbal in nature. In delivering a speech, the first thing that you have to do is to determine the end or general purpose of the speech. We have to start with a good reason to speak up. Here are the types of speeches categorized based on their purpose. The first one is informative speech. The main goal of this speech is to enhance the knowledge or understanding of the audience or teach the listeners something new. What is the point of speaking about something that everybody knows about already? This speech should be rich and value-adding. Next is the entertaining speech. If you like making people laugh or making people cry, this speech is for you. The main goal of the speech is to provide interest and enjoyment for your listeners. No added knowledge needed, no arguments necessary. You just have to give them a good time. And finally, the persuasive speech. There are 3 kinds of persuasive speeches. 1. Speech to convince or argue, changing or modifying the belief of your listeners. 2. Speech to impress or stimulate, reinforcing already existing beliefs and attitudes. And 3. Speech to actuate, persuading your listeners to do something after the speech. After knowing the purpose, it's time to determine the right presentational method for your speech. This depends on the occasion and your speech objective. The following are 4 presentational methods that you may use. First, an impromptu speech. It is the most dreaded type of speech since it's an on-the-spot speech. And because there is no preparation time, speakers rely on stock knowledge, personal experiences, and of course, the command of the language. You will usually encounter an impromptu speech in ambush interviews, surprise class recitations, and if your groupmate suddenly ditches you in the day of your report. Second, the memorized speech. This entails a speaker writing the speech word for word and committing it to memory. This works well for people who are good at memorizing. The downside of this method is that speakers are usually more concerned with recalling what was memorized and not on the communication act itself. Third, the manuscript or read speech. Like the memorized speech, this method requires the speakers to write the speech beforehand, but instead of memorizing it, the speaker reads from a script. This is generally used for speeches that require formality and perfect wording. This is also preferred for events that are so important you cannot miss out on anything. And finally, the extemporaneous speech. They say this is the most recommended of all types of speeches. Speakers are allowed to prepare for the speech, but they are discouraged to write it and memorize it. This makes the speech rich because you are able to research and rehearse it, but still sound natural and conversational because you are not recalling it from memory. But before you step in the classroom and stand in front of your audience to deliver your speech, you have to overcome the first challenge in the speech preparation. As an assignment, I need you to think of a speech topic. It's usually the hardest part, but once you're sure of what you want to talk about, it will be a lot easier from there. I suggest that you choose something that you're passionate about and very interested in. That's it for now. Have fun on your speech preparation. Thank you.